This is This is a story about the best scientist I've ever met, my grandpa. He was an engineer slash rocket scientist. He worked at Lockheed during the space race and helped put men on the moon, which is awesome and puts me to shame. My grandfather and I are a lot alike. He's left-handed, he likes to tell goofy jokes, he loves history, and most importantly, he likes to get himself into situations where he's a bit over his head. It's 1946, and my grandfather has just been decommissioned from the military. He graduated high school early in hopes of serving in the war. He joined the Army, and they trained him to be a pilot. They dropped the bomb before he could go over, but he was still a pilot and pretty cocky about it. So he's back home in Mammoth, Utah, which is the middle of nowhere. And he's working at his dad's gas station. And he decides one day he wants to fly from Mammoth to Delta, Utah, right? Which is, you know, you guys know where that is. It's actually quicker to really drive to Delta than it is to fly. But he's like, no, I'm going to fly. I'm going to fly to Delta, Utah. I'm taking my brother, too. So on the day they're going to fly, it's really windy and epically windy, kind of like sandstorm windy. And he goes out, and his dad is like, my great-grandfather, no, don't fly today, this is dumb. He's like, I'm a pilot, Dad, I got this, I'm going to fly right through it. So he and his brother drive farther away from Delta, rent a plane, it's got 68 horsepower, like this is a little puddle jumper. They rent a plane, they're up in the air. They're less than halfway to Delta when my grandpa looks down and sees there is 0 gas left. Thanks to the headwind that is just crushing them right now. He looks down and goes, this is not good. He's actually flown over his dad's gas station. And he turns to his brother and says, take off your shoe. They turn around, he writes a note in his shoe, opens the window and throws it out the window. The note says, get us gas, we're out. And at this point he's coasting. Now, Papa heard that there was like an old airstrip that was like still active for emergency landings, and he kind of flies over it and he realizes it's been abandoned. So it's full of weeds and it's not really good for landing anymore, but he doesn't have an option. As he's turning, he almost hits a grain elevator and like, explodes the plane, but he coasts down, and to put it his way, his brother was yelling at his ear like, no! He's like screaming something in his ear. He's like, I wasn't listening to him, I wasn't listening to him, I wasn't listening to him. And I land this plane, and I swear we didn't go more than 15 feet. We were just barely made it to the ground. They're okay. For some reason, he still doesn't know why his dad had a big like jug of airplane fuel at the gas station. They bring it to the boys. They fill up the plane. It's windy as heck, but you know what? They got to fly this plane back. They got to get it back to from where they rented it. So he tries to take off. And you know, because he's a pilot, decides to be a little cocky, do a fun little turn to say thanks to everybody. As he's turning, he turns with the wind behind him, and the wind is so strong it almost stalls out his plane as he's turning. So the plane drops, the wing nearly scrapes the ground, crashing the plane, but he pulls up. And he gets out of his turn. The best flying I've ever done, he said. Way to go, Papa. All right. So they're back up in the air. He's done his little, hey, what's up? Thanks, guys, for the gas. Little routine. And he's trying to get back to this airport. So as he's flying, they're like right into this headwind. And he starts thinking, you know, this is weird because my land speed is kind of like the same as my airspeed right now. It should be a little more with the wind. And then he told me this, you know, for the fun of it, I thought I'd lean off the throttle a little bit, see what would happen. Because they tell you can't fly backwards. And I thought I could do it. So Papa leans off the throttle, pulls back a little bit, and proceeds to fly backward. To which his brother is like, what are you doing? So they finally, despite the fact that he was getting pushed sideways by this wind as he was trying to land, and besides the fact that he can't go with a wind at his back without stalling, he gets this plane back to the airstrip and he lands it. And their friend comes to pick him up. And he says, most people will tell you they won't, like you can't fly backwards. And no one will believe me when I tell them the story. But then this guy showed up to pick me up and he goes, hey, did you see those dumb bastards up there flying backwards? That's my grandpa, thanks.